offerings to keep everybody excited. So please enjoy some chocolate. You always got to warm up the audience, right? I was a speechwriter back in the day. That was my corporate job. A speechwriter, a corporate speechwriter.
Really? Wow.
But none of my CEOs ever passed out candy. But that's my choice. Okay. So my topic today is on intention setting and manifestation. And I chose this topic based on my personal experiences and then combining that with some of the teachings that I've had through my own practice, as well as some resources that I've looked to. So it's very personal, and I invite at the end if you guys have anything personal you would like to share.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I'm gonna do there.
So the first experience I can go back and remember with manifestation is when I graduated from college and I took a job at a computer at a desk. I had a degree in journalism, and I walked into work and realized right away, this is not what I want to be doing with my life. I was sitting in a gray cubicle, and I just knew this is not who I am. But at the time, I had no idea about this. So I had student loan debt, I had a car payment, I was starting to pay my own rent for the first time in my life, I had a relationship, dogs. But in my mind somewhere, I had this idea that I was going to be a traveling yoga, like a traveling working person, like a, maybe not a yoga teacher, but some kind of freelancer. And this was just hidden back there. There was no like point A to point B on how I was going to get there. In fact, it seemed pretty impossible. But I sat down at work that day, and I remember it so clearly, and almost 17 years ago. I put a screensaver of a tropical island with beautiful turquoise water on my computer screen. And every day I went into work, I saw that first before I started my day. And then later on, I had to open a bank account, and they asked me to put an image and a password for my bank account. And I thought about it, and I put the word retirement. I think it was in my early 20s, and I put the word retirement, and I put a photo of something that would remind me of something to do with retiring. And so every time I logged into my bank account, I was reminded instantly not to spend money. I'm saving for this new thing in my life, yes. And I knew at the time I was going to retire by the time I was 40. So that, I think, was pre-yoga, but my first intention that I ever set. So today I'd like to explain manifestation and setting your intention. So the first thing that I've learned about setting an intention is that you have to be careful what you wish for. Because this works, the stuff works. So when you set your sankalpa, really think about what you're asking and be clear and meditate on it and be mindful and don't limit yourself. Don't limit yourself. So for one of my teachers, my Reiki master, she recommended that when you set an intention, you could put the words at the end that say, or better. So I would like to retire by the time I'm 40, or better. So I really liked that suggestion that she gave me. And then the other example I have of this is when I was traveling over Christmas this year. I've been traveling by myself for a long time, and I really wanted a partner. I thought, I'm ready to travel with somebody. So I went away for Christmas and New Year's, and I had this huge intention for New Year's that I was going to meet someone, a man who was amazing, who was going to travel with me. I was going to Costa Rica and coming back to Mexico, and I thought, this guy is going to come back to Mexico with me. So I put it out there in the universe, and I was fully believing it's going to happen. Well, it did happen. I met someone in Costa Rica, and my last day in Costa Rica, I was going to the airport, and he was on his laptop in the hostel, and he said, guess what, Shell? You've been talking about this place, Sayulita. I just booked a flight. I'm coming in a week. And I went, wow. Well, I forgot to tell the universe I wanted it to be a lover. So my dear friend Juan from Ireland came back and he stayed with me as my roommate here in Sayulita, very first of the year. So yeah, this stuff is really powerful, but watch out and be careful how you put it out there. So I have a quote from one of my favorite teachers on this topic, and we've brought her up a lot, Louise Hay. And this is from her book, The Power is Within You. So I recommend this book highly. It's something that I go to often, and I like to read the quotes to my yoga classes.
The power is within you?
The Power is Within You. And she has so many books, but this one just really works well for me. So just to overall explain this, she says, I believe there is a power within us that can lovingly direct us to our perfect health, perfect relationships, perfect careers, and which can bring us prosperity of every kind. In order to have these things, we have to believe first that they are possible. Next, we must be willing to release the patterns in our lives that are creating conditions we say we do not want. We need to do this by going within and tapping the inner power that already knows what it is that's best for us. If we are willing to turn over our lives to this higher power within us, the power that loves and sustains us, we can create a most loving and prosperous life. So I always like to back things up with a little bit more of the scientific side, especially when I'm talking to my yoga students. You guys already are into this, I know, but I like to give a little bit more substantiality. So there's a TED Talk that I recommend, and it's by a doctor, a medical doctor. Her name is Lisa Rankin. Lisa with 2 S's, Rankin. And the name of the TED Talk, and she has a few of them, they're all great, is there scientific proof we can heal ourselves? So she visits the medical literature and she finds all kinds of instances in the literature of the placebo effect, of stage 4 cancers, HIV, heart disease, all being cleared up without any medical treatment. And so this is attributed to the power of the mind. The mind and our thoughts are so powerful that we can even heal ourselves. And so if we have the placebo effect, which means we believe something good is going to happen if we take something, we also have the nocebo effect, which she talks about, which is if we think something will harm us, it will. So that's the negative thoughts. So she shares a story which I'll share with you guys. A woman born on Friday the 13th in the Okanofi Swamp in the southeast was one of 3 girls born that day. The midwife proclaimed, the girls born on such a fateful day were hexed. The first, she announced, would die within her 16th birthday. The second would not survive her 21st. And the patient was told that she would die before her 23rd birthday. As it turns out, the first of the 2 girls died within 1 day of her 16th birthday, and the second on the 21st. The third woman was terrified that she would die on her 23rd birthday. She showed up to the hospital hyperventilating, and soon after, when she turned 23, she died. And this was published in an article in the Annals of Internal Medicine. So very powerful that when we have a negative thought brought to us, the nocebo effect, it can also really change everything. So that's how powerful our mind is. And she has many examples. This is the most severe of those.
But who said the kids?
A midwife that just said they were hexed, that was there at the hospital. It sounds like a fairy tale, but this is actual. I even checked this out myself. It's
And what was
an
her
article.
last name?
Rankin, Rankin. She has a lot of great talks. And she's a doctor, so she's really exploring this other side of how to heal yourself. So thinking about these thoughts, positive and negative, and how they affect our brains and our health. Google and all the resources on the internet dispute like exactly how many, but on average we have 70,000 thoughts per day, 3,000 an hour, 50 a minute, and 5% of those are conscious. So there's a lot of power in our brains that we're not using every day. So now we're getting into manifestation. So the first suggestion I have is to just check in with your thoughts. And I had a yoga teacher in Ocean Beach, San Diego. Her name was Carson McKinley. And she had a great example of this. She said, life is like a Facebook algorithm. So when you go on Facebook and you see people are having babies and you like that picture, Facebook knows, they know everything, right? So then they put more pictures of more babies and you start seeing this. Then maybe you just have an event and you like somebody's event, more things about that topic start showing up in your feed. So just like Facebook, our minds have that same kind of algorithm. When we see something positive and we focus on it, more positive comes up in our minds. When we see something negative, the same happens. So I think about this in my daily life. I had border collies for my breed of dog that I had 3 of. And wherever I go, I see border collies. If there's one border collie in all of Mexico, I see that border collie. So it's just that idea of where are you focusing your mind? And a lot of people do that with cars. They buy a car, or they're thinking about buying a car, and then all of a sudden they see everybody on the street has this car. Yeah. So just being mindful from the beginning what you're thinking, because it's going to start coming up over and over again. And then what do you want to avoid? So there's a lot of things if we're thinking of negative thoughts that we want to avoid. And I have 3 that I really highly suggest, and that is drama queens, health cases, and broke is a jokes.
Broken what?
Broke is a jokes.
What is it? What is that?
So I'll explain. So drama queens are just people that always have something bad going on in their life and they got to vent about it. Like that's just going to suck you in a bit. The health cases are when you ask how somebody's doing and they have a headache and then they went to the doctor and now they're going to the dentist. And
How do you call them?
Health cases.
Health?
Health cases.
Yeah.
Yes, we all know these people. And what happens is, you know, they have drama and then they just accumulate more drama. And they always have some drama to talk about. Or they have a health issue and then they have more health issues to talk about. And then the broke is a jokes. And this one I find around me a lot, especially as a traveler. And these are the people that can't afford anything ever. Doesn't matter how much they work. It doesn't matter what's going on in their life. I can't afford it. I can't afford it. I'm broke. The more you put that out there in the universe, the more you're...
And how do you call it? How do you...
Broke, like when you're broke out of money. Broke as a joke.
Okay.
Yes. So, and I have this manifestation relationship with money, and I have a lot of tips on that. But the main thing I think about is never say the words, I can't afford to, because you choose not to purchase something. Of course, I can't afford to buy $1 million home. Sounds right, but the reality is I just don't have the money yet to buy the home. So I don't want to say I can't afford to. I want to rearrange that. If somebody says, do you want to go out to dinner at the 5-star restaurant? Actually, I'll have some other things I'm going to spend my money on this week, but thanks. Just try to rephrase that. Just try to rephrase it as best you can. Yeah, and then another one that I was really guilty of, that I've really worked on, is all men are assholes. Right? That's one that comes up a lot. Todos los güeyes son cabrones.
Pendejos, no cabrones.
No.
Those are different.
Son cabrones. Okay, so also we talked about this a lot in the media and what our consumption is. So I was getting heartbroken all the time, and I would listen to some sad songs and make myself feel better. That doesn't work. That's the worst thing you could possibly do. And I love her. She is the most talented woman that I find very inspirational. But the worst thing you can do when you're going through a breakup is listen to an Adele song. Just don't go downhill. Don't listen to sad songs. That whole album, start to finish, you'll never want to be in love again.
You know?
Adele.
Adele, yeah.
Adeluna que
will cut
canta
your
una
grades.
inglesa.
Never heard of it. Maybe it's good.
Yeah.
Yes,
She has this
Yeah,
amazing voice,
Yeah.
but
but
very
she sings
downhill.
really sad love
There is a song
love
of
songs.
Elton John that says sad songs say,
Say
so,
so
much.
much.
And it's an amazing song. An amazing song.
Yes. So listening to songs, maybe I will survive would be a little bit more positive, right? So then, yeah, just not limiting things.
Yeah.
So how to manifest confidence, success, money, love, fill in the blank, whatever it is you wish. There are a few techniques that I offer. One is just being mindful of these thoughts and then taking that into yoga with concentration, dharana. Bring that visualization to your third eye and really see exactly and clearly what it is you want and work on that meditation. Another idea is repetition and writing and reinforcing this. So if it's through writing things out, posting notes, a lot of times if I want to do something over and over, I put the notes around me to just encourage myself all the time. Chanting, not only in Sanskrit but also in English. You can make up a song for yourself in any language, in Spanish, right? Like you can just be like, I'm gonna pass my test tomorrow, and sing that to yourself. It works. And then the altar is another great way to use your manifestation. So my personal altar has crystals and different tools that I use, but I decided when I wanted to travel and I needed money to travel, I put not only pennies on my altar, but I put pennies of different currencies on my altar to symbolize the traveling. And if any kind of things that you have that you want to manifest, if you can just think of something symbolic that you could put on your altar, and maybe even more than once, just like I did every day, a little something. And I also, just as a side note, I like to put kind gestures on my altar. So kind gestures. So like, for example, when somebody gives me a rose in the street, I might put a rose petal on there just to encourage that kindness all the time.
Can you repeat repetition, reinforcement, what?
Repetition?
Writing, yeah.
And writing, yeah. Another technique is negative thought stopping. So, and this is a lot of things that Louise Hayes talked about in her books. In my opinion, talk therapy, it works, it has its reasons, but we only need to talk so much about our problems. So you want to be careful if you're going to a therapist and you're talking every single week about the same problems. It's unlikely that you're going to get moved from that situation. Whereas, and you have to be considerate of your rants. I mean, we all have these people on Facebook that do these rants, the long status updates of paragraphs of things that went wrong that day. Like, take them out of your sight. We don't need to see rants, and we don't need to, if something bad happens to us, it's understandable we need to say it once or twice, but avoid the negative repetition of saying it to 5 friends or 10 friends. And just realize that you are limitless. So stop defining yourself as limited. But what I mean by that is I have, I've heard this a lot. For example, well, I'm an introvert, so it's hard for me to date. That's a very limiting thought. And that's just one example. So another idea I have is just to control your fears. And for me, I think I've manifested that in my safety while I'm traveling. I've always been all over the world by myself, and I've never had any scary moments, any dangerous moments. I've been in plenty of places that were very foreign to me and risky, and I've always felt like I'm going to be safe there. And then not having the fear keeps me protected, I believe. And then Louise Hay talks about being careful with your words. So sometimes the universe isn't going to discern can't and can. So, for example, if you're going to say, I can't be late, you might have just told the universe, I'm going to be late. So you need to say, I will be on time. So just as positively as possible, express your thoughts and your words. And then, from my own experiences, of course, I'm not sitting here in a beautiful palace. I don't have perfect health all the time, right? We are human, so we're not completely enlightened yogis. So of course, I had a dog who died of cancer. I wish that she hadn't. I did my best to manifest what I could for her, right? But I'm not completely enlightened. We're not 100%. If you are, wow, you know. So
Not until tomorrow.
maybe
Until
we'll keep working on it. But I will say, my dog had cancer. My vet told me that she was gonna live 1 to 3 months. I went home, we went on a fabulous journey together, and she was with me and healthy for 9 months. You know, the dog didn't know she had cancer, and I had the positive energy in her, and we had a really good time together that amount of time.
Instead of crying
Instead of
next to
worked
her
up.
and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sharing
Yeah.
sadness, no?
So I think of it as, okay, maybe we're not gonna just flip the switch completely, but there are little pieces of light in us, and those little pieces of light flip the little levers of change, poco a poco, pasito pasito. So yeah, this has been my experience. These are the people that have really inspired me that I've shared with you today, and I have developed some more planning based on these ideas and these experiences I've had that I'm hoping to develop into some workshops. I have what I call like a chart that I've developed, and it uses some of my business strategy techniques from being in the business world and applying that to this manifestation. And so that's kind of where I plan to go with this in the future. I want to leave you with one more quote from Louise Hay in that book that I recommend of hers. And it's everything is possible. Where we are is the totality of possibilities. It is always up to us individually and collectively. We either have walls around us or take them down and feel safe enough to be totally open to allow all good things to come into our lives. Begin to observe yourself objectively. Notice what is going on inside you. How do you feel? How do you react? And what do you believe? Allow yourself to observe without comment or judgment. When you can, you will live your life from the totality of possibilities.
Excellent. Wow.
Beautiful.
Oh,
Sheo,
thank you.
thank you very much.